I'm John O. Wells, and this is Modular World. Welcome to 2024. Yikes. I used to look, or we've all looked at credit cards like years ago, and it's 2017, and we're like, 2024? Are we even going to be here then? And yet, here we are. And we're here strong, okay? I've got great things planned for the year. Let me see if I can remember. Okay, next month is a techno smackdown. No, it's not a smackdown. We do have Travarsi from a little bit north of me in the Los Angeles scene. And we have David Haberfeld, who you might know as Honey Smack, coming from Australia. So that's going to be serious. And then in March, Jay Mollerskopf is curating from his own scene in Wisconsin for Spotlight Wisconsin. It's just gonna be great. The Midwest scene is so alive and well, and this is another shining example. In April, I have something that I want to tell you about so bad, but I can't quite yet because it's not, all the parts aren't in order, and I want to execute it just right. So please hold for that. Let me check my notes. Oh yeah, today we have Meagan Jane Marron and the Surging Mass. Surging Mass I've been friends with for years, and it's always the friends who get on the show last. I'm sorry. And Meagan Jane Marron, you might recall, performed as Cat Breath. And I gotta say that I don't think it's any secret that my favorite kind of electronic music has always been like the IDM experimental textures, and both of these artists I'm a huge fanboy of. So it's pretty big. Notes. Oh yeah. The Modular World merch store is now open, and it's super fun. It's been an interesting experience getting into print on demand and how that works. It's been working well, and I'm really happy to not have boxes of merch here in the house. So that's been cool, and it's been really neat seeing people post pictures of wearing the logo and representing. It's awesome. If you do blah 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 blah. No, I was going to pass that. Okay, we're moving on. Let's just keep the show rolling. Okay, so we're going to start off with Meagan Jane Marron. Meagan Jane Marron. Now, let's just tell the viewer a little bit about the transition from Cat Breath into the name, and just give us just a little taste.
Yeah, so I'll say I've been doing music, semi-seriously for about 10 years.
Hmm.
And Cat Breath was my original artist name.
Right,
And it's really the one I learned with.
right, okay,
So, which comes along with that, varying levels of quality too, of course, a lot of experimentation, a lot of figuring out what type of music, what genres, what gear I like to use. And I feel like I've figured all of that out to a certain extent, as much as you can,
good for
right?
you.
And
Okay.
I thought, well, this is a good time to kind of transition to my real name. I've kind of figured out what my genuine sound and feel is.
Mm, mm.
So good time to switch over. But I still retain the Capworth name for um, nostalgic reasons, but also I like to, have some iconography related to it, use it
Right,
as Capworth Records as well. So,
right.
and who knows, you never know, I might do a chill hop album or something lo-fi and
Hmm.
release it under Capworth.
Okay.
Always possible.
Well, I fell in love with your music as Cat Breath, and I mean, frankly, whatever you're called, I'm gonna follow. I've always been a fan, and I'm just so happy to finally have you on the show. I mean, honestly, you should have been on the show like as soon as I liked your music, but it's just, you know how it goes.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, long time viewer, first time talker, right?
Right,
So this
right,
is great.
right. It's like talk show, right? Like long time fan. Yeah, how do they say it? Well, you just said it. Long time viewer, first time talker, or whatever. Um, so tell us a little bit about um, how you produce music, how it comes out, how the final piece is like. Here it is.
It starts with what kind of intention I have. Usually it's a technical question or a question of experimentation. Like,
Right.
I wonder what happens if I use this new module that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll
Mm-hmm.
be inspired to create something off of that.
Mm-hmm.
Or what if I combine my Polyan tracker with eurorack and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
forms its own
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I always come from a really a question of I wonder what would happen if I do this,
I see.
and then build music off of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'll do that, I'll kind of iterate and jam over weeks or months, and then start to kind of morph into something usable. And I'll go back. I save everything when I'm,
Right.
jamming, and then I'll go
Yeah.
back and start to craft a narrative or a story,
Mm-hmm.
into an album.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how that works. But it's always like it's usually not a musical question. It's a technical question. That just sort of curiosity of what would happen if I do this.
Right. What were you doing before Modular?
Um, I've always loved hardware, and I
Mm-hmm.
actually have been collecting vintage synths for a long time. I got
Mm-hmm.
a Juno 6 in, I want to say 2005 was my first real synth.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of always played around with hardware, and then um, in the past 10 years or so, I was introduced to Ableton and did a
Mm-hmm.
lot more production within the box, in
Mm-hmm.
the box kind of style, than combining with hardware. I'd always, I'd go to stores and I'd see all the modular gear, but
Right.
it was like I can't do it.
Right.
It's too overwhelming. It's too much. I'm not ready.
I felt the
But
same way.
yeah,
I was like, who are these people? Right? Like,
yeah,
I'm going to use VCV Rack that's free, and you can go and spend your money on all this wacky hardware.
yeah,
But that was my gateway drug.
yeah. I never used VCV. I just jumped right in. It was during the pandemic. I think a lot of people will say they got into whatever esoteric thing they're into during the pandemic.
Right.
But my first module I got was a Lil Erebus by Dreadbox, because
Mm-hmm.
it's a module, but it has everything you need. It's its own synth, really.
Right. Right.
And that was the start. And then after that, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So more and more modules started showing up, working a lot more kind of in that space. My more hardware synths are here. I bring them out. They're a little jealous, probably, but
Right.
that's kind of been it.
Hey, on that note, how do you control more and more? How do you do that?
I don't.
No
The
control.
problem.
Fuck it.
I mean, that's a good question. I like force myself, let's say I'll get a new module, I'll force myself to really learn it
Mm,
backwards and forwards,
mm-hmm,
ideally.
mm-hmm.
You know, squeeze as much out of it as possible.
Right.
Um, and it's got to be something really interesting. I've got a pretty thorough setup at this point and a really good workflow. So I'm more attracted to something that's really strange or
Mm-hmm,
new
mm-hmm.
or pretty or unusual. It's got to be something
Yeah.
that's a little more interesting at this point to really catch my
Mm-hmm,
eye. The last module I got was the Befeco FX Boy,
mm-hmm.
because it's used Game Boy cartridges, and that was
Right.
weird enough that I was like, I need that. So
Speaking of Game Boy, and I know you've got that polyend, do you come from tracker history?
I don't know. I was introduced to the tracker about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm,
and it blew my mind. Like once I got a poly end, it was my first experience with the tracker at all,
mm-hmm.
and I thought I would hate it. It's like writing music in Excel. That's what a
Hey, that's
tracker
a
looks
really
like.
good analogy.
But I love it, and I feel like it changed the way I think and
Mm-hmm.
it changed the way I approach beat making specifically, and just the level of complexity you can get quickly
Mm-hmm.
is unrivaled, I
Hmm.
think. So I'm a convert for sure.
Does the polyend work in what's the word, in hexadecimals like the NerdSeek does?
Um, I know that the I have a dirty wave mate that
Oh,
does.
right,
I don't
right.
I don't know actually. I don't know. So, like,
The NerdSeek was my uh, was my sad attempt at trackers because I was still in the mentality that I needed a sequencer, and now I don't use one. Um, so that was my last go,
mhm.
and that thing just broke me. I mean, I think it's unbelievable, and I think that Thomas has built probably the best sequencer in eurorack. But man, oh god, I'm not smart enough. And dealing with hexadecimals and like you said, like working, it's not vertically, that's not my problem, but working in lines like that and being so intentional is
Mhm.
just something that I cannot wrap my head around. I can't do it.
Yeah, and the dirty wave, which I use occasionally, is like that. It's
Right.
hexadecimal, I think. It's very page based. You build a sequence, but then it has to be part of a larger sequence, and but you have to be very intentional and think it through because
Right.
you don't want to
Right.
become disorganized because it's really hard to deal with
Right.
that.
Oh.
The polyend is really good because it's more flat as far as organizationally.
Mm,
You have all of your patterns and you can organize them in a song,
mm,
and that's it, really. You don't have to worry about phrases and sub patterns and things like that.
mm-hmm.
And it's super visual. So
Yeah, right.
um,
And a nice
I
big
find I can,
screen.
the big screen, the jog wheel is amazing.
Mm.
It changed my life. And I can like program things pretty quick on it. So I've got a simple MIDI splitter coming out of Ableton, controlling the poly end, and then everything on my rack goes into a black sequencer by uh,
By
Erica
Erica.
Synth.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
And then
then,
that's just a simple MIDI clock triggering, start stop within the rack. And then everything in my rack is controlled by the black sequencer, or I've got a PAMs or some other things as
I
well.
see, I see. Wow. Okay, let's transition out of gear, although we could talk about it all day.
Hmm.
Tell me about Heterodox, the Portland-based label that you've released on, and I've followed, and it's such a great label.
Yeah, it is an amazing label. It's owned and managed by someone named Ramon, who is
Mm.
you might be familiar with the artist name Production Unit Zero. Big name in Portland. A lot of
I'm not.
they're not only do they run a label, but curate a lot of really good live shows as
Mm,
well.
mm,
And yeah, just kind of developed this community of mainly, but not exclusively Portland-based artists,
mm-hmm.
kind of left of center as far as type of music you're looking at. little more experimental, wide range
Mm-hmm.
of genres, but more on the experimental and I would say sort of hardware side of electronic
Mm-hmm.
music.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, they've really been able to build a great community and reached out to me a couple of years ago to release my last Cat Breath album, Rift,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, and then got to play some shows with them and kind
Mm.
of get into that scene a little bit. And
Mm.
yeah,
And
been
it's
with
digital
them.
only, or is there physical?
No, there's physical. Yeah, so CDs and tapes. My new album will be on tape, is on tape, I should say. You can order it now. And then, yeah, more and more CDs, which are apparently coming back,
What the
sort of,
fuck?
which is interesting.
I
I
want
don't
to
have a
put out
CD player,
vinyl.
but
Like, I want vinyl.
I would love to do vinyl. It's so expensive, but
I have
one
to do
day,
vinyl. Yeah.
one day.
Do you really
I
think that
mean,
CDs are coming back?
yeah, but I don't have a CD player personally.
No.
I have all my CDs from my, adolescence still, but nothing to play them on. Vinyl would be great. Even if I had to compromise and do like a lathe cut 7-inch single or something,
Right.
that'd be fun to do. But
I was chasing this place in Czech Republic that does small runs, and like I'm not going to get more than 100. You know what I mean? That's my kind of there's no way I would even sell through 100. And that's their lowest. And it was 1500, which is great. 7 to 10 weeks. But there's no test pressing.
mm,
And I
yeah,
talked with Nathan Moody, and he's like, do not do it without test pressing. Okay. So I reached out and I'm like, how much for test pressings? Well, now it's up to 2,500. Right. And then I'm going to get mastering probably by Nathan. So there's another 1,000 or whatever. So now I'm at 3,500. I'm not going to do it.
yeah, it's just out of reach. Um,
Damn it.
I I like tapes for that reason. They're obviously not comparable, but it's a physical product that you can hold at the end of the day. You can get your album art out there. I include download codes. So it's like something tangible.
But they don't sound good. Come on.
They
And
don't
don't
they don't they don't
don't
sound
tell
that
me they
great.
do. And
No,
and
they don't sound that great.
and
It's
you
a
know, I
it's
know
a physical thing to hold more than anything, I would say.
it's true and it's better than nothing, or is it? But I know a lot of people who buy cassettes just to support the artist and don't even have a cassette player,
Yeah.
right? Or are we going to
Yeah.
go out and buy little Walkmans and really listen? I mean, come on. You know, I've actually got a tape deck from way back when. Sounds terrible. I'm really
It's
pulled on tapes. I don't think I like them.
I like them, but it's a as an artifact more than anything,
Right.
right? But I'm a collector against my own, best intentions, as you can tell behind me. So,
I don't
you
see
know,
that collection of turtles. I don't see it. I have no idea what you mean.
yeah.
Tell me about your deepest, darkest passions I mean like mission statement sort of stuff, like why you're making music, what you want to do, maybe sounds you haven't created, like where are you taking us?
For me, it's really important to be able to tell a coherent story with music, right?
Mm.
So I'm always trying to make things that are in some way emotive, which is hard, and I certainly don't always accomplish that. But like, I want to make people or myself, anyways, feel something with
Mm-hmm.
music and
Mm-hmm.
kind of have the intention there. And one thing that I really have started doing more of, but want to focus on, is actual playing of keyboards. So, I
Mm-hmm.
have eurorack. I do a lot of programming, of course,
Mm-hmm.
with all of that and with beats, but um, I really want to get more comfortable playing live keyboards, kind of tapping into some of my older synth influences,
Mm-hmm.
like the prog kind of bands and
Mm-hmm.
um, Wendy Carlos and all those kinds of people, and
Mm-hmm.
actually play. And that's nerve wracking in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
My last live show, I brought my Mini Korg 700 to the live show and actually played the various parts and did improv and whatever. And that was scary in a way that playing live has never been scary for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I want to focus more on that and kind of bringing that kind of organic feel my music to an even greater degree with the next releases I do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, tell us a little bit about the set which you created and some of what happened.
Yeah, so this one is hardware I'm using is my various eurorack modules. For percussion, I've got my Polyand trucker.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the intro and outro, I'm using my new Chompy Club,
Oh, I saw
Chompy,
that. I saw
which
that.
I
Yeah.
just got,
Right.
and I don't, I haven't learned it yet. So it's very rudimentary how I'm playing it in this track, but
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I had to include it because I just got it, and it's so cute and it sounds so good.
It is really cute, and they named it cute, and the whole thing is just vomitatiously cute.
Oh, they saw me coming from a mile away, like a pink synthesizer.
Right. It's all over.
It was all over. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then yeah, for the track, my only intention was the key that I wanted it to be in. That's what I started with, B major, and it kind of didn't end up being in that for various oscillator drift reasons, we'll say. But
I have no idea what you're talking about.
yeah, and then I wanted to something that was melodic, something that I could really use a lot of my synth voices that I have in my case, and then started with that and just built it up, over the course of a couple weeks using a lot of my favorite effects. And once I had that in a place that I liked, I programmed the beats and I did them separately. So oftentimes when I program beats, I don't listen to the music part. I
Right.
just I'll like listen to it and then think about it, but then program into the tracker and then put them together and hope that they sound good. And then I hope they did. I don't know, but that's kind of the approach I took
What a
for
great
that.
process. Yeah, that's
Uh,
really cool.
And part of that's intentional, but part of it's honestly laziness because it's a lot easier to sit on the couch and watch TV and program with a mobile, tracker
Mm-hmm.
than try to do it all while actually playing the Eurorack sequences as well.
Well,
But
processes, yeah, I mean, whatever, right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
yeah,
so,
and then it was a one shot. That was the first time I tried to record it.
oh, good.
Just got it running, got the camera running, and was like, "This is it. I'm too I'm too tired to do it again."
That's
So I hope it all
fantastic.
works,
That's
and I
so
feel like
good.
it came okay.
So that I think adds to the beauty of it being live. This show isn't live anymore, but that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's against my own impulses because I'm so um particular and meticulous, and
Hmm.
I'll see something and it'll just bug me. I'm like, I want to go fix that, but this time force myself not to do that. It is what
That's
it is, and
fantastic.
it's a point in time, and it's a good reference of that point, and
Yes.
go from there.
Oh, thank you for giving us that. That's really beautiful. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
And
you're
just,
welcome.
you
It's
know,
fun.
just thank you in general, just for taking, I mean, you said you worked on it for 2 weeks, whatever.
Yeah, it kind of iteratively. Yeah,
Thank you so much for doing that and taking the time to do that. I understand that's a real commitment. Oh, I'm just so glad to meet you and just finally have this opportunity to hang out and chat a little bit. Yeah.
definitely.
All right. Last question. What's next? What's next for you?
Yeah, so I released an album, Skyla, in October,
Yeah.
and it's one half of two albums actually. The next one is going to be called Charybdis, and
Oh, okay.
Skyla and Charybdis.
Which
And
is
it's sort
what?
they're two Greek sea monsters really, but kind of from Greek mythology, and it's the idea like saying you're between Skyla and Charybdis is like saying you're between a rock and a hard place.
Ah, okay.
So there's that kind of storytelling portion of it. Um, but I have the second half pretty much recorded.
Mm,
It's just I have to go back and arrange it. And I think where I took a very straightforward approach to beat making on
mm,
Skyla, I didn't use any tracker. I used
mm,
mainly modules within eurorack for
Mm.
the beats.
Mm.
This next piece is I am going to go back and incorporate the tracker, so it'll be more um, complex from a beat standpoint, but
Mm.
still trying to
Mm.
keep that organic feel. And I'll be playing a lot of the instruments live, a lot of uh, Korg, mini Korg 700, some Juno 6, and a lot of real warm analog synths in there as well. So
Okay.
hopefully it works out.
Oh, I can't wait. That sounds awesome.
I have to
Mm.
put a timeline to get it done though, otherwise it will take forever.
So, what do you think?
Probably have it. I bet summer. I think it'll be done by summer,
Okay.
probably.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Links are below. Everybody, links are below. Please follow what Meagan Jane Marron is doing. This is exciting stuff. Thank you so much for being on and doing this.
Well, thanks for having me.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
come
It's been
on.
good to talk.
Come
Anytime I
on.
love to talk. Gear,
Yeah.
music,
Well,
everything
you and
else.
I could talk for hours. It's
Definitely.
true. All right. Oh, I love her. Such special stuff. I want to keep the show rolling, so just a quick check-in to viewers who just joined. This is Modular World. I'm John O'Wells. All right, on to the Surging Mass. I don't usually have interviews back to back, but just for the flow, this time I chose to. So please enjoy my conversation with the Surging Mass. Jason Raker is the Surging Mass. He's sitting right here. This guy. You and I have been hanging out and talking for, I'd like to say, like years.
Yep. It's been 3+ years I can recall.
Oh, it's got to be more than that.
At least three.
But I mean, you've never been on the show long form like this.
Nope.
Why is that?
I don't know. Just
He's like, that's your problem, Jono.
yeah, hadn't worked out yet.
But you've been on the show many times.
I think 2 times, right?
Only
I think-
twice? For
Yeah.
like anniversary show and like patch challenge stuff.
Yep. Or maybe no, it was 3 times because it was 2 of the patch challenges.
But this is the first like sit down interview, longer performance.
Mm-hmm.
What an honor, sir. I feel like one of the most interesting parts of your musical journey is your gear journey.
Oh geez. Shouldn't talk about that.
Well, I mean, you and I have spoken about you know, places you worked in the past and acquiring a lot of gear. And I recall at the beginning of the pandemic, you were just like, I've never seen somebody go through gear like you did, where you're just like trying things out, selling things, moving on. And then took a little break. Now, thank God you're back. And it looks like you're going in the direction of a lot of pedals right now.
Mm-hmm.
Catch us up on where you're at and how you got here and how it's working.
I've just been recently just really into sampling and a lot of effects on sampling instead of relying heavily on synthesis,
Mm.
So I just started diving back into pedals. And that's actually, if you look at my Instagram account, that's where when I first started Instagram, it was like minimal synths and a lot of pedals.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of fell back into that thing again.
What drew you back into that?
I don't even really know. Just change of pace more than anything, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I picked up a couple pedals and then it kind of sprung that trapdoor again.
Right. I've always been
Yeah.
such a fan of what you do. And, you know, I love samples too. But you're going down who is the company who makes Mood, I see right there, and the others?
Oh, the
Chase
Chase Bliss
Bliss, of course.
Yeah.
Right. Now, you love these ones.
Yeah, I've owned pretty much every pedal they've ever made, so
They make really special stuff.
yeah.
And they make stuff which resonates a lot with the modular community, not just eurorack.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right. So where are you now with your music? What are you doing? What's going on?
Um, I really don't know. More live playing, improv, looping stuff is where my headspace has been lately.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Trying to get more out of the old electron sequencing flow,
Mm-hmm.
since I switched over to the Deluge and all the community firmware updates with it. That's where I'm at right now. Um,
But I see you've still got the Octatrack there.
yep, yeah, the Octatrack's a great Swiss Army knife mixer sampler. I can sample into it and shoot it right back to the Deluge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's kind of one of my favorite things is just bouncing stuff back and forth using the OP1
Mm-hmm.
for that also lately, sampling into it and then sending it around back into the Deluge. So
I've been always so impressed at your ability to take on pretty complex stuff and understand it. Some of our first conversations, you would explain stuff, or I just got this, and I was just like barely starting to understand the ER301, and you were just like running circles around me, and I'd like let mine go because I wasn't smart enough to play with that. And you're like, oh, this thing's awesome. And you had like 3 morphogenes, and you were just like doing such creative madness with this stuff, and you've got this ability to really understand equipment quickly, you know? Like, what is that? Like, a lot of people struggle with the Octatrack, and it's just like a simple part of your workflow, you know?
um, I think that's actually one of my favorite things is just learning gear. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just I have an obsession with buying stuff and learning it, and then you know seeing if it fits my mental workflow or not.
Yeah,
And
right.
um, I have a thing where I'll read the manual completely before I buy gear,
Mm-hmm.
and then get kind of a picture in my brain how I want to use it,
Right.
how I think it's going to work, and then I'll get it and go from there. But
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I buy and sell gear so much, because I'll buy it and you know just to learn it, and then go, yeah, that's cool, but it's not what I need. It doesn't
I've
really
definitely
fit
done that. Yeah.
anything that it's nothing wrong with it. There's tons of gear that I love, but I just I don't like holding on to stuff forever.
Yeah.
Like,
What a great process, though, really.
yeah,
I think that a
it,
lot of us kind of begin to collect.
yeah, I don't want to collect. I
Right.
did that for years, and I don't have any. Um, I don't have any drive to do that anymore. I just want whatever's working. I want to use and
Me too. Me too.
part ways with stuff that's just sitting in the closet for collecting dust forever.
I think that one thing that modular has done for me is that it's made me less sentimental about equipment.
Oh yeah, modular
Because,
will do.
yeah, I just can't anymore. You know, if something isn't being used, even though I love it, it's like I'm okay to let it go. And now I
Yeah,
don't buy anything unless I'm selling something.
that's where I've been for a long time.
Yeah.
So I at one point I owned way too much gear, so I got to the point where I could just trade and keep swapping back and forth, and
Right, right. It's a
really
beautiful
spending
thing.
money. It's just reusing the money
Right,
over and over.
right. Hey, regarding releasing music, this was so cool. You were traveling a lot a couple years
Hmm.
ago, and you released a couple EPs that you made in hotel rooms.
Yep.
I thought that was so cool. And they
Yep.
were all just brilliant. I've always been a fan, as you know. But those EPs were so dialed in. Where are you now with releasing and putting out stuff?
Um, it's been a thought, and I'm trying to get back into that. What's funny is I actually have a work project where I'll be in Florida for over a month coming up. So I'm trying to get the small portable setup to take.
What are you gonna bring?
As of right now, just the Deluge, the OP1 Field, and probably the Zoya Euro Bureau and the iPad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and probably the little audio interface for the iPad, the Volt 4.
Tell us a little bit about the performance for today and what you created.
Hmm. I would say it's a lot different than, and it's definitely a lot different than what I initially was thinking about doing. Um, I feel like people probably think of one thing when, when they see anything that I'm posting or anything like that. And
I don't know.
I just,
I don't know. I mean, you've got a real range.
yeah, I just didn't. I started in one direction that I felt was probably going to be it, and then I started doing something else, and it felt more natural and comfortable.
That's great.
Just like the EPs I made, those were just turn on the recorder and go, and played for however long, and then said, okay, that was it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but those were all
live.
Those were just 2 tracks, just done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that.
That's everything. For a year, I used to own a lot of studio, like high-end studio stuff for recording multi-track, and did stuff to 8-track tape and all that kind of stuff. And I really prefer the final product of just 2-track recording. It's never perfect.
Right.
It's got its flaws and its warts and everything, and I just like that better.
Mm-hmm.
And the overproduced stuff, just let it be its thing.
Yeah, and it's tons easier,
Yeah, no, it's easier, and you don't fret, or at least I don't fret about it like I used to. I'd record everything into Logic or whatever and sit there forever and cutting parts and adjusting volumes, and it feels like a waste of time for where I'm at. I just enjoy the moment and in that bit of music and move on.
That's great. Oh, that's so great. So what's next for what you want to do and release? Like, do you have an idea of what that's going to look like or when?
I've had the same idea for a few years, actually. And I keep feeling like I'm getting closer to like a full album, kind of like with a full thought process, instead of just random moments kind of live caught. So we'll see where this year goes. I think in the last few months I've been going through gear like crazy, just trying to get the final pieces. And with this process, I think it's really helped me get my mental flow in the right direction. Just kind of speed up the process, forcing yourself to work on something and think about it more than just a little bit each night. So
right. Well, maybe this year, right? I mean,
yeah, maybe this year something will come out.
Okay. All right. Well, my man, I'm just so glad to have you on the show finally, and just thank you so much for the time you took to make this set and to make it happen. It's just great to have you, man. Yep.
Oh, I really appreciate it. Yeah, sorry it took so long.
Well, I am too. There's just it's time and it's people and it's just life, and also I started doing all the spotlight shows and the patch challenge shows, and that has not helped push out the 2 artist shows. It has not helped.
Oh yeah.
And, remember I was doing 5 artist shows, which were like the 3-hour and 4-hour shows.
Mm-hmm.
And those were great. But, harder to produce, a lot of work, more work. But that helped me get through the list of people who have signed up to be on the show. And it's just like now with 2 per show plus Patch Challenge shows, I have shows booked for like 4 years.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. So it's a little daunting. And I can't stop doing the Patch Challenge and the Spotlight shows just because they're so much fun.
Oh yeah, those are awesome.
But these 2 artist shows are the heart of the show, really, because it's the long form sit down and talk and longer performances. I mean, this is really like the heart of the show, are these kind of shows. The others are just like, I just can't resist just because they're so much fun. But they totally break me also, These are a lot easier to produce. Anyway, thank you so much, Mr. Jason Raker. And this is the Surging Mass right here. absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much to Meagan and Jason for doing this show, for taking time out of their schedule to be on Modular World. Okay, ways to support this show are through Patreon, linked below, and also you can click the join button for YouTube. But I gotta say, I recommend Patreon just for its dedication to independent artists and projects like this. And also, instead of a global huge superpower. So consider that. Obviously, any way you choose to support this show is appreciated. And we do have the merch store up and running. The link is below. Tons of really cool styles and color variations. Definitely worth looking at. Notes. Okay, yeah. Next month, Travarsi and Honey Smack. I'm not going to edit that out. Nope, I'm going to keep it. Travarsi comes from LA, and Honey Smack is from Australia. Total techno smackdown. It's not a smackdown. It's a show. Okay, and then in March, we have the spotlight on Wisconsin. It's going to be so good. And in April, it's so good and not for sure planned for that date, so I'm not going to talk about it yet, but it's going to blow your mind. All right? Thank you for being here and supporting our global scene. I love you.